Hey, this is Notser, and today we're taking a look at the Tier 8 German cruiser, Admiral Hipper. We're on the map Estuary, the build is on the screen, and this is one of those rare games where, as a Tier 8 cruiser, I'm top tier. I'm not having to deal with Tier 9s and Tier 10s. In recent memory, that is absolutely all we've been dealing with, but this game, we don't have to, so I'm actually pretty excited. Now, I don't have a super skilled commander. This is a 13 point, but everything that's on the screen is the order that I take it in. I choose to try and pick up accuracy and maneuverability so that at long range I can better deal with incoming fire, and then of course obviously concealment. Concealment's always good. It really is. It's always a useful stat. So I was on the east side of the map. That's where I headed out. Now there's an enemy DD, Jervis, capturing D point, and he seems to have used his smoke. While that's going on, of course, I'm just firing my shells at targets that happen to be visible, Jervis being one of them. I don't know, I think he moved a little bit too quickly out of his smoke. I don't know that he necessarily needed to do that, but maybe he couldn't stop in time. I don't really know. Either way, we get a pretty good damaging shot on him, and there's an enemy Alba who is broadside out in the open. So of course, unload high explosive, switch right to armor piercing, and we're just going to unload armor piercing on cooldown on this guy, hoping to citadel him. Of course, the first shell does not citadel him, and you know, based on that shot, it kind of looked like I had to lead him a little bit more, but in my follow-up, he looks like he's slowing down. So I drew in the shot, and we hit him, but not all that well. I had the right idea, I just didn't implement the aim quite as precise as I needed to. But we definitely follow up with the 10,000, and this guy, if he doesn't angle, he's already sustained a pretty good damaging shot, and I need to respond because there is a battleship that's somewhere over here, and I think he's not the only one. So everyone's unspotted on this flank. The western flank is way more engaged than we are. But I'm doing okay, you know. I am a little afraid of what could be there, spotting or unspotted, firing on me, and what this Cleveland looks like he's actually stationary. I will pull the trigger on cooldown. Now, one of the advantages of the Hipper is the rate of fire compared to something like the Prince Eugen. That was the differentiating trait. Obviously, you don't have heal for that, so you need to take advantage of the other trait, which is the rate of fire. And I love to try and just... I probably keep high explosive loaded 70 or 80% of the time, and I only switch to armor piercing if I have a clear advantage, you know. And yeah, I'll pull the trigger sometimes a little bit early on the island. I try and wait for that island icon to go off the screen, telling me that there's nothing blocking the line of sight. I should probably verify it a little bit more, but I'm just trying to get a little bit of damage towards the targets without taking too much. We found a nice little position where, honestly, the enemy can't see us. So I set a fire on the Graf Spee, and we've got what looks like another smoke somewhere in the background. I think it was a retreating DD. Now, I was considering, do I move forward? If I move forward, how many people could fire on me? 3, maybe 5, depending on. Look at who's in the center of the map, though, at our base. There's a Tirpitz that went to our base, and oh, the Icarus. The Icarus is spotted. Friendly Bismarck. Hopefully he's using hydroacoustic. This is the only options I could choose. I could only choose a fighter, and I choose between a hydroacoustic or defensive AA. I chose hydro for the German, and the fighter is good enough to defend myself, similar to defensive AA. And ooh, nice. We get a nice little AP salvo on that enemy DD. I'm sure he didn't expect that. And I'm just looking for a potential target. It looks like a Cleveland. Maybe he thought that the Bismarck was going to go around the left side of that island. I don't really know. But regardless, he's out in the open for me to fire. And friendlies take out the Jervis. I would love to assist in taking out the Cleveland. Of course, we have high explosive loaded. And it'll do all right. You know, the Germans have a IFHE built in, so they get that base pin for free. And that base pen is really nice because it allows you to shatter less and be more consistent. And I really appreciate that. I just like the consistency of the cruiser line for the Germans. And it's so far removed from a lot of the German battleships. Some of those battleships just, oh, you take a shot, you're never going to hit anywhere close to the enemy. And then other shots are point blank perfect. So Tirpitz, he's kind of stalled out. I think he's expecting someone or something to counter him. I was rushing towards the island, hoping to keep it in between my ship and the enemy Tirpitz while firing on other enemy ships. And you might be wondering, oh, well, you know, why do you choose to do it in the order that you approach the problem? Well, this order allows the enemy's decisions to work against him. I mean, he chose to go towards our base, not capture it, and then turn back and block line of sight for most of my team. And if he's going to do that, obviously, I'm not going to stop him because it's an advantage for me. So, you know, whenever you see an enemy doing something that you could work very well against, kind of let him do it. You know, don't be over here trying to stop the play because the play is a disadvantage. So teammates were able to finish him off. East side, very, very, very handled. The west side, less so. It's still a back and forth game. And honestly, I wish I was on the west. I wish it was a closer game over here. But my team's done a great job, and we've focus fired and worked well together. It's fun to go through this, but I think lately the games have been so one-sided, it's like, why even bother at times, right? So at the very least, we're getting a pretty back and forth, but man, they're dropping like flies now. Alba's dead. 2 other ships on the west have died. Another somewhere else. It's not looking good over there. And there's only 3 enemy ships left. So I'm just going to maybe sail towards the center B point. I might go past it. I don't know where exactly the Lexington is because the spot hasn't been as recent as the Cleveland. But I'm sure I can deal with it. I'm pretty healthy, and even without heal, there's no reason to not be aggressive because we have the advantage here. So just continuing sailing this way. Enemy DD is spotted by friendly aircraft carrier, which I like, of course. It's always nice to know where the enemy is, and the Lexington is scrambling a attack rocket squadron. That means he wants to go after the Icarus, who he saw was capturing. So I'm going to try and move my position, obviously having my AA, over the teammate so that it can contribute. And of course, the enemy aircraft carrier drops a fighter right on top of the friendly Icarus, and AA is going to kill it. And you know what? I don't really care that I'm spotted, because I can weather this storm way more than the Icarus. And also, don't be someone who refuses to contribute your AA. Everyone's AA is significant. A DD with a, priority sector enhanced side is going to contribute a good continuous damage. So when you're in a situation similar to this Icarus, don't be afraid to turn your AA on. The AA, when in smoke, is actually randomly generated locations. So no one can tell exactly where your ship is. It's only when you're firing your main battery, and I believe maybe secondaries, that's when the aircraft carrier can actually see a verifiable location. From his point of view, that AA looks like it's coming from every corner of the smoke cloud, and if that's the case, there's no reason not to keep it turned on in a situation like that. So we've captured B because obviously the Icarus. I've got my AA kind of in range of the torpedo bombers, but it's not really that much of a priority. I would like to fire on this Cleveland, who's actively maneuvering, and I loaded preemptively AP expecting this broadside, and I'm hoping that we'll go into the Citadel and do tons of damage, and of course we don't. Of course we overpen, and only 1 sticks in the ship, and it doesn't stick in the Citadel. But obviously he's not engaging me, so I'm not worried about this, and if he does engage me, big deal. I've got tons of health, and he's a small caliber. He's a light cruiser, so good angling will be rewarded, especially on the Germans. I mean, it's just, he's never going to get inside the Citadel. It's nice to feel that kind of confidence that his gun caliber cannot match mine in its effectiveness in the scenario. So I fired off a couple more AP, didn't really like the damage output, switched over to high explosive, and then immediately get a fire, which he's going to have to make do with. Either he puts it out and then gets another fire, let's be real, or he just allows it to burn for a little bit of damage. And I don't know, maybe he's hoping for a detonation or something like that, but my teammates are doing just exactly what they need to do. And friendlies finish off the target. Last spotted location at the Lexington. I just fire off a blind shot, switch to AP. I'm hoping that friendly aircraft carrier can spot the Lexington, and unfortunately it doesn't verify the location. But we're going to be ready to go. I'm hoping maybe if I run around this island I can see him, and just as I was firing at his last known position, of course we spot him. And the reason it took so long to spot is because the center of the ship was not revealed because it was concealed by that island. That's the only part of the ship that matters for detection. But the game is so close to being over, I'm just desperate to try and get a little bit more damage on the target, and I don't think I'll be able to. I think, honestly, it's going to die right before, and yes, of course, the game ends before we get any more damage, and that's how it ends. We win that game. Hipper does a great job, and I really love being top tier, but these games are so rare, I just wanted to share it and enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed seeing the Hipper succeed. We contribute to our team, and I'm happy. 3 kills, 1,795 base XP. It's a rare treat to be a top tier cruiser in a tier 8 match. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing the Hipper. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.